Hey everybody, thanks for joining us on this third session of Shop Talk. I appreciate your attendance. We're probably gonna give just a little bit of time for stragglers to come in and then we'll get going. We do have a packed show today. We have a special guest with us from the product team who will be talking about the dashboard. And I don't know if you've noticed things that have been changing in the new dashboard that has come into play, and we'll look into where that's going as well. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulties right now getting him on board, but we'll do that as soon as we get through my part. So let's talk a little bit of how to. Let me go ahead and share my screen here so you can see what we're doing today. Sharing, sorry. All right. I think you should be able to see that. And there we go. Okay. So Shop Talk 3. Let's go ahead and just get right in. So today's lineup, we want to talk about comparing iPhone models. I went ahead and created a video, and we'll show that to you in a second, talking about the difference between the newer iPhones with the wide-angle lens and the slightly older iPhones, which are still great, but because they don't have that wide-angle lens, require you to do things a little bit differently. So we're going to take a look at that and the resulting models. We also will take a little look into markings. In the video, you'll notice that I mark a window, so we'll talk a little bit about that, as well as some editing tools that we have once the model has been created. So I'll be covering that in a video shortly, and please, if you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the questions panel. In your GoToWebinar control panel on the right side, you should see a questions panel there. You can just type in your questions, we'll get those, and we'll do our very, very best at the end of this webinar to answer as many as possible. So, and as I said, Gabe will be here very soon to talk about the account dashboard and what's to come and things like that. So here's a small teaser that you can see right here. So there we are, and this is the start of our video. So let's check this out. Let me just go to share that. Hey Matterporters, in this video I wanted to compare between the different iPhone models. We're going to look at the iPhone 11, which has an extra wide-angle lens, which, as I've mentioned before, can be advantageous when capturing using your iPhone. And we'll compare that to an iPhone 7, which just has a standard camera lens. I'll go ahead and start with the iPhone 11 and use the simple scan mode. I'll show some examples at the end, what the difference is between the complete versus the simple scan options that I'll be doing using the iPhone 7. But to know a little bit more about that, I went ahead and linked to 3 getting started videos in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so before I get started, I just want to go into my options button over here and confirm that I'm using the simple scan option. And then I'll go ahead and come down with that. And let me just back up a little bit so you can see what I'm going to do here with the simple scan. I'll go ahead and start my scan. All right, so that was one simple scan. Now what I'd like to do is go ahead and mark this window behind me, as well as the window that's right over here, so I don't get any kind of spray outside of this one model. So I'll zoom in here a little bit and hit the markings button here. And you can see what I have here is a mirror marking at the top, window is below that, and then the trim marking. In this case, I'll use the window marking because I want to actually create a wall of mesh in my 3D model. So I'll tap that and then just move across this way. You want that marking to go just a little bit beyond the window, so this should be just fine. And once I've done that, I'll just tap the X and go ahead and hit upload. Now let's go ahead and give the iPhone 7 a try. With the iPhone 7, I'm going to go ahead and do the complete scan so you can see the difference between doing a simple scan with something like the iPhone 11 that again has that extra wide angle lens to the iPhone 7, which does not have that extra wide angle lens. Let me just back up again. So just as before, I want to hit the options button, make sure that I'm scanning correctly. So I'll choose the complete scan in this case, and I'll get rid of that options panel and go ahead and get started. All right, so now I've completed a complete scan. You could see as I was turning around, I had to stop so many more times. A, because I was using the complete scan, so I had 3 rings, not only the center ring, but also I did the bottom and then I went and did the top, but also because the field of view in this camera is not nearly as wide as it is with the iPhone 11 using that extra wide angle lens. Now I'm gonna go ahead and do my markings just as I did before, and I'll go ahead and upload. Now these are just single scan models, so they really shouldn't take very long to process. Let's go check out what it looks like on the computer. Let's start by looking at the complete scan that I captured with the iPhone 7. Now as you can see, when I move around this model or rotate around this single scan position that I had captured, you can see everything from the very top. There's just a little bit of blurriness up here at the top that wasn't captured. And same thing at the bottom. It's just a little tiny bit, but most of it is captured, and this is exactly why it's called a complete scan. As you saw, the complete scan obligated me to capture the center ring as well as the pictures from the very top and the very bottom, and that's what was able to complete that sphere and get me what you see here. So what you end up with is really a debate whether you want to take a little bit more time and capture all the necessary images that are required to complete the entire sphere, or if you want to just do the simple scan and just get center ring right around the middle. Now, I will say that with a complete scan, because you have many more images, you also introduce a little bit more stitching artifacts. So keep that in mind. It is a lot more obvious with a ceiling such as this, where I have these hard lines, and you will notice that some edges like this window here didn't come out very good. I probably could have done a better job as I was rotating, turning around the camera and not myself. So this could have been improved, but this certainly is something to take into consideration when choosing between the simple and complete scan. Now let's go ahead and check out what the simple scan that I captured using the iPhone 11 looks like. If I move around here, you get pretty much the same effect, but you'll notice that I do have a lot less stitching. So the model will have a much larger blurry area at the top and at the bottom, because again, this is a simple scan, but again, this was done much faster. I didn't have to take nearly as many images, and I still have a really good sense of what this room looks like. Now, just for fun, if you don't have the newer iPhones or iPad with the extra wide angle lens, I did go ahead and process a simple scan using my iPhone 7 just to see what that looks like. So here you can see I'm turning around the room, but you can see that the top is completely blurred out, and you can't see the ceiling at all. It's not in there. So you still have a little bit of a bottom, but here too, very blurred out, because this lens doesn't have that extra wide field of view. It's not going to be able to capture nearly as much of the scene. So here's just a look at what this looks like if you do capture using a simple scan with an older iPhone that does not have that extra wide angle lens. Now I'll go back into my model that I captured with the iPhone 11. This is the simple scan, and I want to show you a little bit about the things that you can do with your model. So let's go ahead and add matter tags and label your model. So the first thing that we need to do is hit the edit button right here. And now what I can do is go into the matter tags icon right here. you'll notice that all along this side I have all my tools. I can capture images, photos, and download them to use in my marketing material or any way I want. And labels right here, we'll get to that in a second. And measurements, we'll also get to this. But for now, I want to touch on Mattertags. So I'll just click this. And what I need to do here is press the plus button down here. The same holds true for mobile. So now you can do all your editing on your mobile device as well. And so I'll hit the plus, and now you'll see wherever my cursor goes, or if you were on mobile, then you would just tap where you want to position your Mattertag. You can see that the cursor is followed by the Mattertag, and no matter what I do, I'll go over here, let's say, and just go ahead and click there. That'll fix the Mattertag to that position. I can always move it later on, so it's not a problem if you don't get it right on where you want it to be. But now I'll just go ahead and give it a title and a description. And another thing that I can do here is change the color of my Mattertag, as well as add a link to anything in the description. And I can actually embed content such as videos, images, PDF documents, things like that. So I'm not going to do that in this case, but I just wanted to show you how easy it was to add a Mattertag, thereby adding so much more information to your model, and it's just that much more beneficial to any of your visitors. So we did the Mattertag. Now I want to go ahead and label, and label is something that you only see from the floor plan view. It's going to automatically, as soon as I hit that plus button right here, it automatically zoomed out to the floor plan view, and I can just tap anywhere in the room that I want to include the label. Now this label will only appear when the visitor chooses to see the model in the floor plan view. It's also important to note that in order to have your visitors be able to see your labels, you need to enable them. So go into the settings button down here, and if we go into advanced, labels is right here, and currently it is turned on, but if in your case it's turned off and you're not sure why your labels are not appearing, this might be the reason. So go ahead and make sure that this switch is activated, and then you can exit the settings window there. Finally, I wanted to touch on the measurements mode. So as I said previously, the measurements mode icon is right over here. And even if I'm in the floor plan view, what I can do is turn this and click on the measurements mode icon right there. And then as with all the other tools, I just go ahead and hit the plus button here. And I can tap here once and just drag across and tap here to get a measurement of the width of this room. Now, as you can see, I can either hit the escape button on my keyboard or just come down here and hit the green check mark. So again, the same holds true. If you're on mobile, you can do this, and you won't have the escape button, but you just hit the green check mark and that'll do it. So the other way that I can measure is not only in the floor plan view, which, by the way, I can make these measurements available also to my visitors, just like with labels. Measurements captured in the floor plan view are only visible in the floor plan view. So keep that in mind. If you want to go into the dollhouse view, just click on this icon down here. And from the dollhouse view, the measurements are visible either from the dollhouse view for my visitors or from within the model itself. So for now, let's go ahead and keep this on the dollhouse view, and I'll go ahead and hit the plus button here. Now, this is something that is unique to the desktop editing experience. You won't have this on mobile. Whether I'm in the dollhouse view or in the inside view, I can just double click my mouse to draw a line all the way across perpendicular to the surface on which I clicked. So as you can see, after double clicking, I still can continue my measurement, but in this case, I just want to come down here again and hit the green check, because that's all I was looking for. And now I can go inside, and you can see I can still see that measurement line there. So that's just a really quick look at some of the tools that we have available for you in the editing mode when you're editing your Matterport model. You can find out a lot more information about these tools and the other tools that we have available in the support documentation at support.matterport.com. All right. Okay, let me go ahead and switch that now. I hope that was informative. And let's go back Okay, I think, yeah, okay, you guys can see my screen now. We're back to where we were. Sorry about that. I apologize. Okay, next up, Gabe is with us. Gabe, thanks for joining. I really appreciate your time today. You are the Senior Product Manager at Matterport. Can you tell us, what you've been working on?
Yeah, hey Amir.
There you go.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think I'm off mute, right?
Yes, we hear you now.
All right. Yeah, so today we're gonna give an update, or I'll give an update on two items that we've been working on at Matterport. One is the dashboard, and the second is some changes to link-based sharing. So if you want to go to the next slide, Amir, we can just jump on it. We'll keep moving. Yeah, just keep rolling. So about a month ago, we introduced the dashboard in your Matterport Cloud account, and you will see a few cards on that dashboard page to start with. And you've seen about two cards, one which is Matterport for iPhone, and one that shows a few actions for a space. But really, it was just a first step in a broader journey to build out a dashboard focused on three main things that we've heard from customers and where we're going to take the product. About first, relevant guidance, giving customers more situational awareness, and making it faster to do really the core actions in the product. So if you go to the next slide, Amir, today we're going to talk about the first phase of the dashboard that is going to come out towards the end of this month, July. And we're really excited by that because we think that it's taking the themes that I just spoke about and focusing on three core use case. The first is helping someone have more clarity and visibility around what's going on in their account. Second, what's going on with Matterport, and what's going on when those two intersect. And third, make it quick, faster, save time to get to your relevant spaces. So in the next two slides, I'm going to just show a quick demo about these use cases, and then we'll talk about link-based sharing. So if Amir, you go to the next slide. So this is a quick video of what you'll see towards the end of the month. This isn't exactly how it will be, but it's very close. And really what you'll see in this video is there's communication cards that are dismissible, and they're really surfacing insights about how you're using the product. So for example, hey, when you're at your limit of active spaces, giving you a card, a heads up, but also doing it proactively when you're at 80% of that quota. And same thing for users, but it really is more of a paradigm to centralize the communication between Matterport and with you about your own account and your usage. And then the same thing that you saw here is that we're really trying to make the information about what's in your account more discoverable, so that there's less clicking that you have to go through, and it's simpler to know what role you're in, what plan you're on, and what account you're in if you have multiple accounts linked to an email address. So Amir, if you go to the next video, we'll talk about, so the third use case that I mentioned in the beginning is really trying to make it faster to get to your relevant spaces. So this is a quick video showing how on the dashboard you'll start to see at the end of this month two cards that are really going to show you quicker paths to get to either spaces that were recently edited that you have access to, as well as spaces that were uploaded by you. And we're really trying to, again, just go back to how can we make more core actions faster and more discoverable and remove steps from our workflow. You can also see there's, again, this is a different subscription plan where we're really trying to make it easier for you to see, to, A, give us feedback, B, discover what's in a higher plan. Again, anything really trying to start with these core actions, but this video is really showing how to quickly get to your latest spaces from you or from others that you have access to. So if you go to the next slide, Amir. All right, so we're now going to switch gears and talk about sharing and collaboration. So we're pretty excited by two changes that relate to sharing and collaboration. So if you go to the next slide, so our goal in this product change is really to make sharing and collaboration require no instruction while adding to the capabilities of the product. So in this phase of changes that you're going to see rolled out at the end of the month, the sharing experience is faster, the privacy, who can access your space, is more clear, and we're really excited to bring something that's been asked of the community for quite some time, the ability to share a space with a password into the product. So those are the three broad changes. So let me walk you through what's going to happen at the end of the month. If you go to the so the really what from going from left to right, you can see these are a screenshot. This is a screenshot of the space page, then updated share modal, and then the states of link sharing that you'll see in the experience later this month, and in the recordings that we'll walk through in a minute. But want to just surface that we've what you'll see in the experience here is we're really trying to make the language sharper and reduce the amount of time to share, and finally increase the clarity of who has access to your space so that it's walk-up, usable and more clear to anyone. So if you go to the next slide, Amir. So first, let's talk about the changes to make the experience faster and more clear. So the experience is going to change where it's now going to take 2 steps to share a space, and what is commonly, I guess, would be maybe referred to as make a space public, perhaps. That takes 4 steps today. And that will be reduced to 2. And really, what really will happen is that when you click share, we're going to be transitioning the space to public, and automatically to reduce clicks. And you'll see tooltips and easy ways to change the experience, or to change the privacy setting as you navigate that experience. The second thing that you'll see here is that the privacy terminology, one of the constant questions that we've heard from the community as well as from our support team engaging with the community is, what does Matterport mean when we talk about a space being public? What is who has access to it? And similarly, who has access to a space when it's private, but what happens when I have collaborators? And so you'll see sharper terminology and copy to reflect the states of a space in a more simple and intuitive way. And then finally, the third change in the user experience is that we're going to be moving some options that exist that are more true settings, and we're moving them into a central place in space on the space page in the details tab. So we're really excited about these changes, again, just because they're going to make it faster and while walk-up usable. So now let's talk about password sharing. So this is a really exciting use case and just another evolution of the ability to collaborate and share that's been requested from the community for quite some time. So really this has many use cases, whether it's sharing with friends about a personal space, all the way to sharing to a client where you don't want to add them as a collaborator. There's a handful of use cases, and so customers, if you decide to use this feature, you will be responsible for managing and maintaining that password. And you can set a password multiple times, like if you turn a space private and turn off link sharing, but you're the keeper of that password to give it out to someone who you would like to have enter it. And when you load a space before the password is entered, no information about that space will be shown. And you can see that in the video GIF here shown on the slide. So we're really excited about the changes here to unlock some more use cases around collaboration. And paired with the user experience changes that I just mentioned, this is just our first step in the journey to that we're excited to take for the second half of 2020 to add and refine some new collaboration modalities in the product. So I will, that's the material that we have today on sharing and the dashboard that's happening at the end of this month. And we'll be around to answer any questions at the end of this.
That's great. Thanks, Gabe. That's actually really cool. Having come from the support team myself, I know that the password thing has been asked for a very long time. So this is very, very exciting to see it actually come out. It'll be great. Looking forward to that. Okay, so now we're really close to the Q&A section. I just wanted to cover a couple more things before we get to all of your questions. And basically, you can see the little image up here. Just wanted to point out that we do have a new support page, and you can go to, this is exactly how you get there. If you go to matterport.com, check out the resources tab, support is at the very top. And that will have links to the help center with a ton of articles that can help you out and dive into great detail of about how to use the product and all about everything really. As well as links to the Matterport Academy videos that we have in our YouTube channel, which is another thing that anybody that's new to Matterport should check out. Highly recommended. And let's see. And so yeah, so just definitely if you have any kind of support related or help needs, check out that support page. It'll get you where you want to be. Phone calls are still the best way of resolving your issues. When you call our number, the number that you see on the screen right now is for the US. If you are reaching out to us from outside the United States, if you are in the UK, France, Spain, and Germany, I believe, and you go to that support page right there, you will see the number that is relevant to you. If you are outside the US and you're not in one of those, then you'll get the UK number and they'll be able to help you out. So please give us a call if you are running into any issues and need some assistance, because we are answering the phones and we still have a little bit of a backlog with email. So if you want that question answered as soon as possible, phone calls is the best way to go. And if we've had some, complaints where people say I'm not getting through, or I'm on hold for like an hour, you may want to consider looking at the number you're calling and check to make sure that's correct, because after 30 minutes you'll be pushed to voicemail. So there's just no way of being in our system and on hold for an hour. So just wanted to point that out, but on average, we are answering within 15 minutes. So hopefully that's not too bad for you. And as far as email is concerned, we are now down to a backlog of less than 2 weeks. So if it is slightly more complicated, or you want to include images in your question, things like that, to kind of clarify what it is you're talking about, just kind of have that in the back of your head. Unfortunately, we are still having a little bit of a backlog there. And that's about it. Activating and reactivating accounts can now be done fully online. So if activating accounts has always been the case, you can go to buy.matterport.com and just sign up for an account. But reactivating accounts, sometimes, unfortunately, things happen where accounts do end up getting canceled for whatever reason, or if you've canceled your own account, you can just go ahead and reactivate that account that you previously canceled. So there you go, you can just do that online. Oh, and if you are reactivating, go to Matterport, just my.matterport.com, the same way you would always go when you're signing into your previously active account. Okay, stay connected with us in our Facebook corporate page. We do the best we can to keep that updated. So go to facebook.com/Matterport. And we've noticed that a lot of you are, posting some really, really amazing models and digital twins of locations that are just spectacular. You've posted them in Moog, our Facebook group, MOUG. If you haven't been there, check it out. So I encourage you to check out this form. We'll be emailing out this link at the end of the webinar, and check it out. Nominate your form. We'll throw it in the gallery so you can show it off to friends and family. I don't know. All right, that's it for the webinar prior to Q&A. Now we get to dive into all your questions and get them answered. So Gabe, hope you're ready for this. Let me just stop sharing here for a second because we no longer need this. That way I can see the questions. So, all right, there we go. Okay. First question. I'll go ahead and just dive right into my questions, Gabe, if you don't mind. You've got a list of questions yourself, but last week you said we were going to go over how to back up your spaces when your iPad is full on the computer. Can we cover this, or will there be another shop talk on this matter? So I would say there'll probably be another shop talk on this matter. It's gonna take a little while to cover that. I'll go ahead and make a video just like I introduced at the beginning of this one, and I'll show that at the shop talk. We'll also have that available on YouTube. And if it's something that you need to do today because you're just out of memory, then please reach out to the support team. You can give them a call and they'll be happy to help you out. But it is definitely on my bucket list to create that video. So I'll have that for you, and we'll hopefully be able to show that in an upcoming Shop Talk webinar. Otherwise, like I said, it'll be on our YouTube channel. So just keep a lookout for that. Okay, Gabe, you've got a question there. I don't know if you want to tackle that. It looks like
yeah, sure. So one question was, how about batch sharing? We talked about sharing on a one-to-one basis. It'd be great to generate URLs for multiple scans all at once instead of going into each scan individually. So yeah, it's a great question. How are we thinking about doing sharing in a workflow and for multiple spaces at a time? So right now, we're thinking about that in two ways. One is handling that through our kind of, as we're beginning to expose more capabilities in our API, that we think that customers are going to manage many spaces and do that most conveniently through the use of our APIs. And so we're going to have more about that in later, in the early fall. But so we're thinking about how do we enable that use case programmatically through APIs. And then the second is we are looking at like the bulk actions within the user experience as well. I think that though is I don't have a timeline, on that, but it's definitely on the radar. We're first really trying to start with nailing the individual space experience, and then we're going to extrapolate that back up to the multi-space bulk actions. But noted that that's a really good case that we're tracking. How do we handle that? So good question there. And then the second question we've got is there a way to set time notifications for the spaces to see you can see statistics, right? But talking of keeping track of the spaces, being able to set more like if-then rules and a calendar sync with the associated space. Yeah, so that's a great use case. I would break it into two parts. We're going to first, there's some notifications on that will happen on the dashboard that will be like time or situationally dependent. Like you are at this space is ready, you're at this, you're at 80% of your account's quota. Hey, it might be time to archive some spaces, things like that. And then similarly, as the question points out around stats, we're also going to be looking at how can we surface insights on a time-based way related to your stats in a future phase. Like here's what happened with your spaces, here's the traffic, to again just make the information from about your spaces more discoverable, more intuitive to interpret, so forth. And then the second part of your question is really about creating workflows and then connecting with a third-party calendar. So right now that would be something that we're thinking about handling through our developer program, where we would really give customers the tools and partners to create that type of workflow. Right now, we're not thinking of a integration that we would do with the calendar based on and associating it to jobs, but it's definitely something to bring back the team that I can do. And then on the automatic sort of activate and archive spaces, we're looking at some changes there as it relates to when you hit your limits and so forth, but not necessarily related to calendar like appointments or scheduling. So I think that's a little bit further out, but definitely on the radar of how to make the workflow of managing your spaces a lot easier.
Nice. Nice. All right, great. Let's keep going here with questions. I've got another one right here. May I change the link on my project in real time, or how can I change the link on existing projects? So unfortunately, the link is set when the all your model data from Capture is uploaded. The link is created, and that link is just forever with that model. What you can do, however, is re-upload that model data to create a new model, and that'll generate a new link. Now, of course, if you've already spent a lot of time with matter tagging and creating highlight reel and all this accessories to your model, then unfortunately that's not in the new model because it's a whole new model. There's no way of transferring that over there, so it will have to be set again. But yeah, there's no way of just saying I want this model with all the snapshots, the highlight reel, the matter tags that I've already spent and created, spent all that time and created, doing just change that link. There's unfortunately no way to do that. It would require a re-upload of the model data. All right, let's see here. So I've got another question. I've noticed in the last month or so, the measure tool has changed. It used to auto stop at corners of walls and countertops. Now it doesn't. So That is actually interesting. That should not be the case. I have not heard of actually that happening. So I know that there was a way, should still be a way for you to not have it stick. So you may want to check your keyboard, but I know by default it sticks. And I think if you hold down something like the Shift or Option or some button on your keyboard, then it doesn't stick. If you want to get it, to a slightly different place that's not quite where it's sticking to. So you may want to look at your keyboard. I don't believe any changes have been made, but that is a good question for an upcoming Shop Talk webinar, actually, where we'll be talking more about those tools. Okay, let's see what else we got here. So another question, being able to edit 360-degree images in a very basic way is something you can do by, let's see here, pulling the images into creative software. Is this? Okay, sorry, apologize. Just kind of going through this question here. Pulling images into creative software and with third parties online. Down the road, will you consider adding the ability to start adjusting some lighting levels? For example, one issue we often run into is large windows or dark basements will either completely blow out or hardly register on the scan. I totally understand that. That is certainly a problem. I would say, radically improved upon what, the system was, when we first started processing models. We've come a long way. We do everything we can to fully automate the system to make it as easy as possible for everybody. Should there be a more advanced level for people who, come with that background and have a better understanding of, photography and making those light level corrections? Maybe. I don't know that anything is in the pipeline right now. I don't believe it is. Gabe, maybe you know more about the product team and what's coming down there, but I don't think anything in terms of manual controls over your images. We do process HDR with the Matterport Pro 2 camera. We capture 5 images, each at different exposures, combine all those images into a nice HDR image. That should help. I mean, it does help a lot, but still we may run into issues where even that's not enough to compensate for blown out windows. I know those situations are very, very difficult just from a photography standpoint. So, what's really required is that fully manual kind of let me control everything from, exposure level to the difference in exposures, and then even processing the HDR myself in Photoshop, and then I can upload it to the system. We're not there. I don't know if we'll ever be there. Gabe, do you know anything about that? Oh, Gabe.
Yeah, I think that maybe just three comments would be is I think that the best case well, so first is we definitely hear that feedback, like Amir said, and right now I would say the best suggestion is really to do all that you can to control the lighting and capture. We've seen customers bring lights and set up different rigs to help there. But in the coming months, there'll be more control over after you capture space to obscure some information or some visual parts of the space with like kind of like something like more controls that you would see in like Adobe to white out or kind of obscure an area. And that could be used not to correct lighting, but to maybe minimize some area that really didn't look well or was sensitive information. And then further on in, I think through 2021, through the developer program, there'll be some use cases and new capabilities to take assets out of Matterport and like return them, but that might just be restricted to third-party providers to start with as of now. So that would be my three comments.
Great. That's great. It's nice to know that you know, things are coming. In fact, I didn't even think about that. We should, or we will definitely one day, you know, hopefully be able to take advantage of the SDK to improve that. Okay, so I do have another question here. Does Matterport have the ability to drone scan spaces? I'm looking to scan 1 million square feet of space, shopping mall. One camera is just not feasible. Any suggestions are welcome. Yeah, definitely one camera for 1 million square feet. I would agree with you on that. It's definitely not feasible. But unfortunately, there's just no way to use a drone with the way our system works. The way Matterport works, we're not just capturing 3D. We are simultaneously capturing 2D. That's how you end up with the really high-res inside view. If you go to the dollhouse view, or even in Showcase, you'll see there's a little mesh view button. You can click on that and to just see the 3D, which is kind of this underlying layer behind the 2D. The 2D is what gives you that high res, you know, really immersive sense. The 3D is the kind of math behind it. Anyway, because we capture 2D as well, the camera's got to be perfectly still. So drones just out of the question right now. I don't see that that happening in the near future, and not even with SDK, unfortunately. So yeah, that's about it. Besides that, you know, 1 million square feet, you're going to want to break that up. That's not going to be a single model the way Matterport is set up. It's not going to be possible. It'll crash on you. I assume it won't even be able to process in the processing engine. So, so what most people do, people who are capturing those large spaces, will break it up into sections. So you can have a scan of the east wing, a scan of the west wing, and so on and so forth. And then you can link between those. So in a single dollhouse, you may only see that one section. You can choose to not view the dollhouse. That is an option that you have as an administrator of that space. But also you can provide a Mattertag, as I showed in the video at the start of the webinar, with a link to a very specific location within the other models that you have, so people can kind of just jump or warp from one to the next to get a complete sense of what the entire structure is like. All right, let's see here. Have any other questions there, Gabe? You got anything?
Yeah, there was one question about what's, maybe is there any kind of updated view around the making the SDK and some other features in the developer program? What's the timeline on that? So the current thinking is that we're looking at packaging some more changes that we've been working on from the SDK, and part of I would say just launching a more formal developer program later this year. And I think that we'll come back in a few more maybe either shop talks, so forth, and give a line of sight more specifically. But I would maybe look to set your expectations before the end of 2021, and somewhere between late fall and end of 2021. But we'll be kind of updating that view as we get closer to that. I think the other thing to highlight is that if you haven't already, you can reach out to email Alias and apply for access to the developer, to the SDK, if you're interested to see if you like to apply for early access, if you haven't already. And we can, I can get that email Alias or in a second if that's if that would be useful. Let me just grab that just in case it is.
Sure. I'll go ahead and answer another question while you're doing that. We have a question came in about using Wacom or Wacom tablets with the system. With my experience in Wacom tablets, they pretty much replace the mouse. So as long as you are on a desktop or laptop and using it in that sense, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't be able to use it. But if you're referring to the showcase, being on a kind of a visual pad or surface that you can use a pen. Also, it's just touch sensitive. So just like you can use, showcase on your phone, mobile device, and just use your finger to swipe across. I'm not sure if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I don't see a problem with the pen tool, your Wacom pen also being able to move across and navigate through a model. All right, another question here we have is, how do you change the thumbnail after you take a virtual tour of the apartment? So the thumbnail is something that it's basically the first scan that you capture. Now, we've said this a lot, but I'll just definitely, it doesn't have to repeat. When you're scanning a space, it's really important to remember that you're not creating the virtual tour. Okay, there's a big difference between a 3D model and a virtual tour. When you're scanning the space, you are capturing that data, that information to create your 3D model. You do not have to start at the front door. When we're talking about real estate, the front door is usually at the center of the house. So it most of the time doesn't even make sense to start at the front door. You want to start off to one side or one corner of the lowest level in that structure, work your way all the way across, and then start climbing up the stairs, and then do the same thing on the next level as work your way across to one side and then the next. Once you're done, you've uploaded everything to your Matterport account. It's gone through the processing. You've got a complete model. Now is when you actually go and edit that using the edit tools, like I showed in the video, to create your virtual walkthrough or virtual tour. And part of that is creating that initial thumbnail or start location. The start location is not your first scan necessarily, unless you just want to go with the default. So you open up your model, you hit the edit button, and towards the top of that tool panel that you saw in the video is a start location icon. Tap that, move to wherever you want your visitors to start their virtual tour, and click set. That's it. That's the best and easiest way. Let's see. And we'll definitely, and further in future shop talks, I'll definitely go more into all those tools and how you do all that stuff. So stick with us. Okay, we're down to about 5 minutes. Let's see if we've got any other remaining questions here. Can we take 360 photos and upload it to the app and upload to Matterport? So you can't just take a 360 photo, using some capture device that is not supported by Matterport and upload it to the system. It does have to be through the Capture app. Capture app is currently available on iPhone and iPad. We're working on Android. It'll be out hopefully soon. And so it's got to come in through that Capture app, and through that Capture app uploaded to your account in Matterport in order to be processed. We've got a good amount of cameras that are supported, and we're just always working on supporting more and more cameras from Insta360, the 1R. Hopefully will be soon supported as well fully. It's currently in beta. So a lot of capture devices, but it does have to go through that Capture app. It's available for free in the App Store. If you do have a Matterport model and you just want to include a 360 image, the best way is just to embed it into a Mattertag. So you can host that 360 image in some place like Momento 360 or any other site that supports 360 images and turning around and all that, and then just embed it into your Mattertag, and in that way you'll introduce it into as part of your model. All right. Let's see here. Anything else? Question regarding the Insta360 1R, when it'll be available, I'm not entirely sure. It is currently in beta. I know the Insta360 1X, unfortunately, I love that camera, but it's just basically, I think, discontinued or just not being manufactured anymore. I don't know. It's super hard to find. Good luck getting that, but that is a fantastic camera that we do support today. The 1R is, I believe, in a way, its replacement. I mean, I guess you'd have to ask Insta360, but that one is coming out as far as, I mean, it's out, you can buy it, but as far as its compatibility with Matterport and the Capture app, we're working on it. It's in beta. If you really want, I believe there's a way of getting, into that beta so that you can use your 1R. But yeah, it's coming. What else we got here? A couple more questions. What do we got here? Hang on, sorry. I had an experience that when I'm capturing my first scan point on the second floor, when the Capture app says no alignment, why is this so? So keep in mind that it's very, very important that you're fleshing out a structure in 3D. So the way the system works is that every scan point, the first scan point is the first scan point. It doesn't need to align to anything because it's just basically ground zero. Okay, in fact, it happens to be at, if you look at a 3D model in your XYZ coordinates, sorry for getting too technical, it's at 0, 0, 0. From there, everything gets built out. So you want your next scan to be within 5 to 6 feet of the previous scan, ideally always within line of sight. You want to keep two things in mind. This is really, really important. One is you're fleshing out a 3D model. So when you're in your Capture app and you see some black area, that indicates that there is no 3D data there. So fill it in. Find a place to put the camera that can see that area and fill it in to completely flesh out your model. You'll get a much, much better result. Two, think about navigation for your visitors. You're not just fleshing out a 3D model because the only place your visitors can get to are scanned positions. So if you go around a corner and you're no longer in line of sight with the previous scanned position, it might align because both saw the same corner of the room or hallway or whatever, but you won't be able to get from one to the next. So, if you're kind of think about how your visitors are going to walk through that structure as you're scanning. You can pick up the camera, go somewhere else that you've already scanned and continue there. Now, when that happens, the Capture app will initially try to align with the previously scanned position. If it can't do that, it'll look at everything else on the floor. So if you last scanned in the corner of the room and then pick up the camera and went maybe upstairs and created a second floor and then tried to scan, it won't be able to align because it's trying to align with the last scanned position. You've just created a new floor. There is nothing else to align with. So it just says, I can't align. I'm not sure if that's the issue that you're running into there, Jeffrey, but so you are going upstairs, and first, I would say with stairs, even more critical to be closer and have a lot of overlapping alignment data. So I would suggest 3 stairs at a time. What I do is I get to the base of the stairs, have the camera at the base of the stairs, have a scan position there. I will fold up one of the legs and have that be the higher stair, and the 2 be on the lower stair. That's the safest way to have the tripod. And when you do that, you want to bring the center post up a little bit because then all of a sudden the tripod is shorter. So bring the center post up and then start scanning 3 steps up, another 3 steps, and so on and so forth. When you get to the landing at the very top, that's when you create that second floor, and hopefully you align. If you still run into issues, Jeffrey, please reach out to customer support, and it would be interesting to see the information that you have collected up until that point. If you can upload the model, or somebody will we'll figure it out. But reach out to customer support if even after all that, you still run into problems. So apologize. Hopefully that helps. And that does it for us. So we are at the end of the hour. Thank you very much for all your questions. Really appreciate it. Gabe, huge thank you for telling people about Dashboard and where we've come, where we've gone, where we're going with it, and where things are at with that. That's super exciting. And that's it. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to support. Go to the resources tab. It's the first button there at the top at matterport.com, and you'll get a phone number that is towards the bottom of that page. There'll be a phone number. That's the phone number that you should use. It's depending on your locale, that's the correct phone number. So, and that does it. Thanks again. We will be back in another 2 weeks. And for anybody who came late or missed this, I guess, you will get an email soon with a link to this webinar. We've been recording this, and it'll be up on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So there you go. All right, thanks again, and we're signing off. Take care, everybody. Have a really good rest of the week.